Hey guys, Coach Nick here with the 10-0 Mindset, where my goal is to give you all of the tools, resources, and support that you need to create happier and healthier gymnastics. I'm glad that you're here with me today. In today's episode, we're going to cover a simple skill that you can use to make an immediate difference in your life. Before we get started though, I want to tell you a short story, just to remind you that when you're experiencing pain or negative thoughts, you're not the only one. I myself experience self-doubt and low self-esteem from time to time, and yesterday was one of those days for me. I was coaching in the gym that I work at, and at first everything was going okay. I was feeling good, girls were doing great. Somewhere into my third or fourth event rotation, I lost track of time a little bit and was slowly starting to run a bit behind schedule. Nothing major, just a few minutes. I started to think about trying to get back onto schedule, and before I knew it, I'm messing up the vault settings left and right. I've got too many springs or not enough springs in the springboard. I've got the vault set too high or too low. I've got landing mats too high or too low or too soft. In that moment, I felt like I wasn't doing anything right, like I was the worst gymnastics coach in the world. Now obviously, that's not a very rational thought, but it doesn't mean that we don't have those negative, irrational thoughts. It doesn't mean that we don't experience pain from time to time. In today's episode, we're going to cover a helpful skill that you can begin to use to cope with that pain or those negative thoughts and emotions. Today's skill comes from a branch of therapy called Dialectical Behavior Therapy, or DBT. So, the dialectic in this case means that two seemingly opposite things can be true at the same time. So, I'm right and you're right, or I'm doing the best I can and I could be doing better, or you're anxious and you're okay at the same time can be true. It's not just this sort of black or white thinking that we tend to use, but instead that there can be a middle path or a gray area. DBT skills are broken up into 4 modules: mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. The skill that we're going to work with today is in the category of distress tolerance, and it's called radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is designed to help us keep pain from turning into suffering. There's an often quoted sort of formula that says that suffering equals pain times resistance. Pain, as we all know, is unavoidable in life. So this skill isn't going to eliminate that pain, but again, keep that pain from turning into suffering. It's important to keep in mind that acceptance is not the same thing as approval. Acceptance is recognizing the facts of reality are what they are, and that typically, when we fight or resist reality, fighting that reality doesn't change that reality. An example of this is when we make a mistake and then we beat ourselves up for that over and over and over again. It's when we resist and fight the pain that we're feeling that it becomes worse and turns into suffering. So how do we begin to find that place of radical acceptance? Let's talk about 10 quick steps that you can use to begin practicing radical acceptance in your everyday life. Number 1. Observe that you're fighting against or pushing back against reality. You might find yourself thinking something like, "It shouldn't be like this," or "I shouldn't be like this." Number 2. Remind yourself that the unpleasant reality cannot be changed. Tell yourself, "So that happened." Again, we're not trying to fight the current reality. Number 3. Acknowledge that something led up to this moment. Tell yourself, "This is how it happened." What do you think led up to this moment of pain or uncertainty? Number 4. Practice acceptance with not only your mind, but your body. Be mindful of your breath and your posture. Stand up tall and take a few deep breaths. If you can, go for a short walk, or do a few jumping jacks. Number 5. Think about what your behavior would look like if you did accept the facts, and then act accordingly. Envision yourself accepting and feeling better because you've accepted your reality. Number 6. Plan ahead with events that seem unacceptable, and think about how you should appropriately cope. If you occasionally struggle with dismounts, have a plan in place for what you'll do to cope when you are struggling. Number 7. remain mindful of physical sensations throughout your body, such as tension or stress. Use relaxation or visualization exercises to try to help reduce this tension or stress. Number 8. Embrace feelings such as disappointment, sadness, or grief. Realize that these are all natural feelings and that you're not the only one who feels them. You're not alone in this. Number 9. Acknowledge that life is worth living, even when there might be temporary pain. It's important to realize that the pain that you're feeling is temporary and will pass with time, and that there's more to your life than your current situation. And finally, number 10. If you find yourself resisting, complete a pros and cons exercise to better understand the full impact of your choice. What happens as a result to you resisting reality? What could happen if you accepted it? Again, it's important to understand that you can't avoid all of the pain in your life. The good news, though, is that your pain doesn't have to turn into suffering. Radical acceptance is a helpful distress tolerance tool that can lead us away from suffering to acknowledging our emotions. It allows us the freedom to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. It might seem like that's a lot of steps, but they all boil down to that same principle. We want to accept reality for the way it is instead of trying to resist it, because resisting pain leads to suffering. Once we've accepted that pain, we can find ways to move forward and above it. Now, a common thing you might be thinking to yourself is, but sometimes I get so down on myself that I'm not able to think about these steps or accepting or mindfulness or anything like that. And you'd probably be right. It can be tough to remember to accept your reality when you're experiencing some intense emotions. In that circumstance, we'll use what's called a grounding technique to help us get our thoughts under control before we focus on accepting the pain we're experiencing. A very popular grounding technique is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Using the 5-4-3-2-1 technique, you purposefully take in the details of your surrounding using each of your 5 senses. Strive to notice the small details that your mind would normally tune out, such as distant sounds or the texture of an ordinary, everyday object. To do this exercise, ask yourself the following questions. What are 5 things that I can see? Look for small details, such as the patterns on a ceiling, the way light reflects off a surface, or an object that you've never noticed. What are 4 things I can feel? Notice the sensation of clothing on your body, the sun on your skin, or the feeling of the chair that you're sitting in. Pick up an object and examine its weight, texture, and other physical qualities. What are 3 things I can hear? Pay special attention to the sounds your mind has tuned out, such as a ticking clock, distant traffic, or trees blowing in the wind. What are 2 things I can smell? Try to notice smells in the air around you, like an air freshener or freshly mowed grass. You may also look around for something that has a scent, such as a flower or an unlit candle. What's 1 thing I can taste? Carry gum, candy, or a small snack for this step. Pop one in your mouth and focus your attention closely on the flavors. Now that you've taken your time to focus your thoughts on your surroundings, you should have been able to calm down quite a bit and be ready to start exploring your radical acceptance and reducing your suffering. I'm going to leave you with a quote from the Queen of Country Music, Dolly Parton. In the opening line to her hit song, 2 Doors Down, Dolly sings, 2 doors down, they're laughing and drinking and having a party. 2 doors down, they're not aware that I'm around. 'Cause here I am, crying my heart out, feeling sorry, while they're having a party just 2 doors down. In this upbeat and lighthearted song, Dolly Parton reminds us that no matter what kind of pain, discomfort, or suffering we might be going through, we can make a choice to step into joy, as close as just 2 doors down. In the episode description for today, I'm going to put 2 links up that you can use as a resource to work on your grounding techniques and on your distress tolerance skills, such as radical acceptance. The links will take you to my personal website and let you view the PDF documents there. Again, I'm so glad that you were able to spend this time with me today, and I'm proud of you for taking control of your mindset and for taking control of your gymnastics. Until next time.